Dwayne Royster. This is Dwayne Royster, Executive Director of Power, the state of Pennsylvania's largest multi-faith, multi-race organizing movement with over 100 congregations of multiple faith traditions in 9 counties across the state. With me is Amadi Braxton, activist, documentarian, philanthropist, counselor, coach, and consultant. Ms. Braxton, how are you today?
I am doing okay. My brother's family moved out of the country today, so I'm a little sad about that. But you know, it's an important opportunity, and I'm glad that they took it.
Awesome. Awesome. I hear you on that. I hear you. And we will remember that as we go through the show tonight. Each week, we come to you on Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. to bring you the organizers, movement and thought leaders, elected officials, and community members who are creating solutions to the issues that impact your life on the local, state, national, and international levels. On the board tonight is engineer extraordinaire Troy Wilmore, who is capably producing and engineering the show.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
Yes. Thank you, Troy, for doing your best to scare the audience before we get our show fully started today. So appreciate you for that. Tonight, you are our main guest, and so we welcome you to join in the conversation. Feel free to call 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065. We also invite you to listen in by the variety of means to which you can reach the station. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitch. You can even check us out on Alexa. Hey, Alexa, turn on WURD radio. So that way you can listen to while you're walking around your house. So many means to be able to connect with us. You can also listen to us on the app and on www.wordradio.com. And if you're listening to us via Facebook, do us a favor. Go ahead and hit that share button and let people know that you're listening to Solutions on WURD on the air right now so they can join you and be a part of this great conversation. All right, Miss Braxton, what's on your mind?
Well, it was brought to my attention this past week about an emerging story coming out about the MOVE organization, where some of the younger generation of MOVE members who grew up in MOVE are coming forward to expose their experience and to share what they say is MOVE as not an organization or political organization, as many I think in the public have thought, but that MOVE is a cult, and an abusive cult at that. And I guess a lot of cults, by definition, are abusive. I think it's a pretty scandalous and eye-opening set of experiences that are being shared, talking about the kinds of abusive behavior of children, how children are viewed as property and are married off to each other at young ages, and strongly encouraged to procreate as soon as the young women in the organization start their menstrual periods. People who can be expelled or for going against any of the quote-unquote laws of the organization, or they can be abused. And all of this is coming to light in the wake of a podcast series called Murder at Ryan's Run, which seeks to explore the unsolved murder of John Gilbride, who was a young white man who was married to Alberta, Africa, I believe, and who at a certain point chose to leave the organization and was at a custody struggle over their children, and then was found murdered, and they never solved the crime. So according to the creator of the podcast, a woman who, oh, her name is escaping me. I will look it up and share that. But a woman from Los Angeles who is a television producer and journalist. Her initial purpose was to try to explore this unsolved murder and figure out what happened to John Gilbride. Mm-hmm. And I think in her inquiring and talking to different people connected to MOVE or associated with MOVE, stories started to come out, and people decided to come forward, including some of the younger generation, one of whom is Pixie Africa, the daughter of Pam Africa, who is now in hiding with her 5 children after coming out for fear of retaliation. So this is a pretty big deal. And
Beth McNamara.
Beth McNamara is the producer of the podcast. There are other, I think, since Pixie's statement came out, there's a podcast as well as a blog. And on the blog, there are statements that have been put out by a few of the former children members. And more people, I think, have come forward. And there's a group statement that was put out about why people are coming forward. And I'm just trying to pull that up now. But this is an evolving story, and I think there has been a lot of interviews of people that the podcast is going to slowly release in the coming weeks. But I encourage people to check out the podcast called Murder at Ryan's Run, which is, I think, an Apple podcast, because I think it's quite compelling and interesting. And they also interview Andino Ward, who is the father of Birdie Africa, who was the one survivor of the bombing on Osage Avenue. And he talks about his custody struggle for his son over a number of years, and the threats and violent retaliation that was brought against him, which he believes was done by members of the MOVE organization, and so on and so forth. So it's quite a bombshell, I have to say.
Yeah, this is heavy.
You know, we've been covering a lot of what's been happening with MOVE this year because of the 35th anniversary of the bombing, as well as the MOVE, you know, the remains of children from Osage Avenue bombing being held at the University of Pennsylvania Museum, and the injustice of that, and also some remains being held at the city morgue, and the injustice of that. And so there has been a lot of injustice rained upon this group. And at the same time, that does not erase the fact that there could have been abuse happening inside that group.
Yeah, the blog is called Leaving MOVE. It's written by Kevin Price.
Bishop.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can't hear me. Why is that?
Okay, there we go. Sorry.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so the blog is written by Kevin Price. It's called Leaving MOVE. And about it says, Kevin Price says, I became involved with MOVE in 1997. At the age of 14 in 2001, I moved to Philadelphia area and became much more deeply involved with the group. I decided to speak out now to both reconcile my own conscience and pave the path to others who might find themselves in similar circumstances. And so he has a blog that's out there. He's written several posts about folk that wanted to leave MOVE. In particular, looks like mostly related to young folk in the MOVE in the movement. So.
Yeah, I think his post was the first on the blog, but the other posts, there's one by Maria Hardy, there's there's a group statement that's on the blog from former MOVE members and supporters.
That's right.
And I'll just read the first portion of that. It says, "We are former MOVE members and supporters writing to address matters that are deeply concerning. We've all chosen to take part in the Murder at Ryan's Run podcast to tell our stories and shine light on aspects of MOVE that have been obscured from journalistic scrutiny. We're aware that for many who have supported MOVE, this information will come as a shock. MOVE is good at controlling their own narrative and in gaining support from well-intentioned and kind-hearted people. We understand this, and we ask that you take the time to understand what we and others are saying in this letter, and you will be hearing and will be heard saying on the podcast." And then they have a list of some of the things that they say the podcast will address: a pattern of child abuse that many have experienced, that has been going on throughout the nearly 50 years of MOVE's existence, a consistent pattern of direct threats and intimidation of people against people who want to leave MOVE. Some defectors have been threatened, and there are many MOVE-related deaths or murders that are very suspicious, namely the murder in 2002 of John Gilbride, and a myriad of financial crimes and other ways that MOVE has exploited the political support they receive in order to benefit MOVE's leadership. They specifically say here, not Pam and Ramona Africa. The real MOVE leaders are Sue Africa, aka Sue Lovino, and Alberta Africa, aka Alberta Wicker. And it goes on and on and on. They're asking for journalists to consider this information when reporting on MOVE and to dig more deeply into MOVE's history. They're asking other people to have been involved with MOVE to speak out about the real history of MOVE, because they feel like more light being shed on this by more people will provide protection for those who have come forward. And they're explicitly calling on MOVE members of good conscience to begin to tell the truth about MOVE history, including the events that led up to the 78 and 85 confrontations, the treatment of children, and any information related to the harassment and murder of John Gilbride.
Wow. That's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
It is signed by June Stokes, Pixie Africa, daughter of Pam Africa, Whit Sims, Whit Africa, daughter of Mike Africa Sr., Debbie Africa, sister of Mike Africa Jr., Josh Robbins, also known as Josh Africa, son of Mary and Mo Africa, co-defendant in the 81 federal trial against MOVE's founder, John Africa, Kevin Price, and Maiga Milbourne, who are former MOVE supporters of 17 and 19 years. So, very tough stuff, very compelling. If you listen to the podcast, you'll hear a very compelling interview with Maria Hardy about her experience and the culture of the organization, the abusive nature of the culture. She explicitly talks about it as not really being a Black liberation organization, which I found to be really surprising, because that is what I've understood MOVE to be saying it is about. But we're getting close to our first break. Anything you want to say before we head to the break?
I mean, this is it's certainly hard to hear in light of all the the current issues that are coming down. And I mean, certainly I hear your especially you mentioned it earlier, that the tension of the fact that in many ways this group was treated horribly does not shy away from the fact what was going on inside the organization, but also addressing and dealing with the ways that they have been treated by the government, and the disregard that has been brought, by the Office of the Health Commissioner when they did not return the remains of the children. I think it's hard, right? It's just very hard to hear and hard to wrestle with at this particular moment in time. So I hear you. It's just like, wow, a lot to digest and wrestle with in this particular moment in time, and to figure out, wow, how do you move forward with this?
Well, look, let's go to our break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to take Cliff in Connecticut, who's been waiting patiently. Sorry, Cliff, we'll get to you right on the other side of this break. And we'll continue this conversation going, and we encourage listeners to call in, particularly if you have been involved in MOVE, or if you have been a supporter of MOVE, or if you have been critical of MOVE. We would love to hear your perspective. You're listening to Solutions on Word. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good afternoon. Watch for an accident now on 95, northbound side between the Betsy Ross Bridge and Bridge Street. It's off to the side now, but we got delays going all the way back to Columbus Boulevard. So a lot of heavy volume there on 95. Elsewhere, 95 northbound backs up Namens Road to the Commodore Barry Bridge. Southbound we jam through the construction zone, Cottman Avenue to Bridge Street. On the Schuylkill Expressway, watch hit for heavy volume eastbound 202 to Gulf Mills and the Boulevard to South Street. Westbound we back up University Avenue all the way to Montgomery Drive and then City Avenue to Belmont. The Vine, heavy eastbound, 76 to 95, and the Boulevard backs up northbound, Schuylkill to Broad Street. Report brought to you by ExpressPros.com. Looking for a job? Contact Express Employment Professionals and be part of their national hiring event. With one application, Express connects you with multiple employers and never charges a fee. Go to ExpressPros.com, find your nearest office, and call Express today. And for more traffic information, just log on to SigAlert.com. I'm Jason Lee with your Philadelphia area traffic.
For the past 10 years, Comcast has been helping students get ready. We've connected 5 million students from low-income families to low-cost, high-speed internet. We're working with both nonprofit partners and city leaders to create over 1,000 Wi-Fi connected lift zones in community centers nationwide. And now we're committing $1 billion to reach 50 million people with the connectivity, skills, training, and the resources they need to succeed in a digital world. Learn more at comcast.com/education.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you Word listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that Word 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
I heard the COVID-19 vaccine has...
And the thing I heard about the vaccine...
Sure, but do we really know about the long-term effects?
Did you read that thing on the internet?
He heard from his cousin that they don't...
Okay, you're hearing a lot of talk about the COVID-19 vaccines these days. So how do you find out if getting vaccinated is right for you? By talking to someone you already trust, your doctor or healthcare provider. They'll answer your questions so you can decide what's best for you and your family. Go to getvaccineanswers.org to find out more. That's getvaccineanswers.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Tune in every Saturday at 4 p.m. for the Did You Know Show with host Bryant Green, right here on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM.
You're listening to Solutions exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Welcome back to Solutions on Word. This is Dwayne Royster along with Amadi Braxton. Hey, Word family, this summer is the perfect time to come out and come up. If you're looking for a new job, you've got to check out our new livelihood job portal. Some of Philadelphia's top companies want our Word listeners to apply. We've got jobs in marketing, customer service, tech, and more. Go to Livelihood Job Portal right now to check out jobs and apply at wordworks.com. That's WURDworks.com and click jobs. Matter of fact, I know Power is putting some jobs up on that board, I think, earlier today. So, there are jobs on there from all kinds of corporations. Check it out. You might find your new career sitting right there waiting for you. Wordworks.com.
Excellent.
All right.
I had to run and get my cup of tea, and I just thank you for covering.
I went as soon as you left. I was like, let me go get this thing because he's not going to be back in time.
Thank you.
That's all right. Well, look, we have Cliff from Connecticut on the line. I know Cliff's been holding on, so we want to get to him. Cliff, welcome to Solutions on Word. How are you tonight?
Thanks for taking my call, Bishop Royster, and then Sister Braxton. Listen, I consider the move bombing one of the tragedies. Just as a massacre, just like Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, amongst many. And this was, I believe, under the first installation or installment of Philadelphia's first black mayor, Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Good, Wilson. Good.
Good, Wilson. Good. Right. And thank you for the correction. And did he not know what the police and fire department was doing in terms of this atrocity to our people? And so, and from a spiritual standpoint, this is so wrong. And this is a history of what's been taking place to our community with this government, And so this is my question, has he confessed? I don't know if he's still alive, but I think he is, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yes.
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
If you can, I don't know if you can have him on your show, but I would love to hear, his response to this, because this should not go unanswered, particularly from him. And correct me if I'm wrong, was he Philadelphia's first black mayor?
He was, but I think there's a couple of things we need to know. There was an interaction between MOVE and the Philadelphia government back in the late 1970s as well, which is actually part of the movie that Mike Africa Jr., the documentary Mike Africa Jr. made around his parents being locked up and in prison, and I think it was the MOVE 9 that were locked up. It's called 40 Years in Prison, 40 Years a Prisoner. And so there's a history there. There was the issue with Mayor Good about the bomb being dropped on the MOVE house that was on Osage Avenue. He has actually apologized for that, taking responsibility for that on numerous occasions, including being in public. And I believe he's been interviewed on this station about that before as well. So it's not a piece that he has not already addressed on numerous occasions, and has met with the MOVE members around what happened that day as well. I mean, I don't know that folk are ever going to be fully satisfied with his response or the things that he said. But and there's two sides, there are three sides almost to every story. So there's certainly a perspective on that. But he has owned that. As a matter of fact, there was this article out about that not too long ago about his comments on what happened that day. I mean, the interesting thing about it is that Gregor Sanborn, who was the police commissioner, actually was the one that dropped the bomb. And I think, a lot of times, we want to blame the person that's ultimately in charge, which is the mayor. But I think that there's also this challenge that we don't understand what it means to be a first, and in particular in the time frame that he was the first black mayor in Philadelphia, and what that implication was for the mayor at that time. There's a lot to the internal and external activities that took place with regard to the MOVE bombing in Osage. So just wanted to kind of lay that out there.
I just make this last comment that certainly the community and the family, of the MOVE and those impacted certainly deserve the truth, and so however long that takes, reparations, compensation, whatever it takes to make this good, they certainly deserve it. So thanks for taking my call on that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate that, Cliff. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. That whole piece was very complicated. And, I had an aunt that lived around the corner from the home on Osage Avenue. As a matter of fact, she had to evacuate when all the things were happening at that particular time frame. There were a lot of people in that neighborhood that were scared. They had been kept up at night by the bullhorns, and then when all the police and fire activity started taking place over there, it was a very disruptive space and place for a very long period of time. And there were folk that did not always feel helpful and felt attacked by MOVE in that neighborhood, and were very afraid. So I think that there's, like I said, there's more than one side to every story. People have different perspectives from different angles, and we had to make sure that we're trying to build as full a picture as possible.
Yeah, we invite you to join the conversation at 215-634-8065 to let us know your thoughts about MOVE, and particularly these latest revelations that are coming forth. I don't believe that there has been any mainstream reporting about this yet, but we all know that today information can come through, social media is a big source of news, but I'm quite sure that some of the mainstream media is probably investigating the story now and will probably come out with something at some point soon. I just wanted to share, if we don't have any callers right now, I just want to share another excerpt from the Leaving Move blog. And this is something that was posted by Maria Hardy, who was born into Move as Maria Africa. And she says, from my entire childhood, I grew up in a very patriarchal and misogynistic cult-like environment. And from a young age, I watched as young women were coerced into marriages and began bearing children as soon as they started menstruating. Young girls were not allowed much of a childhood or given the freedom to explore their own wants, needs, and desires during their teenage years. By very early ages, pre-adolescent girls were already of the understanding that there was only one option for their lives: to marry a man within the cult and immediately begin popping out babies, devoting all of their time and attention to taking care of a family that they frankly did not have much of a say in creating. They instilled in an intense fear of the outside world and everything in it, making them believe that if they chose to venture outside of the small world that the group had created for them, they would be met with unimaginable yet justifiable suffering and abuse from the outside world. Girls were taught that feminism, critical thinking, education, being independent, and having sex solely for pleasure is all sinful behavior that would be met with consequences. Likewise, these young girls were told that if they have sex with multiple partners, they are a whore and will inevitably contract STDs or get pregnant by a man who will abandon or abuse them. So, you know, that description, I think, fits a lot of kind of fundamentalist teachings of that try to deny women their own agency, their own control over their bodies, that see women's sole purpose as for procreation. And I think it also fits a pattern of, you know, I've never heard of a cult that did not subdue women. I've never heard of a cult where sexual exploitation was not at the center of what it was about. There was, I don't know if people have seen, there's that several part series on HBO right now about the NXIVM cult, which was a multi-level marketing scheme / spiritual, new age spiritual / sex cult. And the leader of it is now serving over 200 years in prison. And
yeah.
There are currently people, in the leadership of that cult, there were a number of women who are now on trial. I think one of them just got sentenced. Well, they went to trial and now they're getting their sentencing. Mm-hmm. So one of them was just sentenced recently. Some of them were Hollywood stars and stuff.
Absolutely, yep.
But, you know, I was, you know, it was one of those things where I just said, let me check this out. And then I got sucked in. And I watched that and I see some of the patterns of how people are drawn into cults, how people are manipulated and controlled, and the psychological mind games that are played upon people to keep them involved. And according to some of the descriptions here in these blog posts about that are written by people who've been involved in MOVE for a long time, there are parallels. There are parallels for sure.
Yeah. Wow. This is heavy. It's a very difficult topic, and I'm just trying to wrestle with, you know, what all this means for us. And yet again, I will say that there's more than one side to everything, and different people have different experiences of organizations and groups and the various activities that take place within them. But if these allegations and the things that folk are sharing tend to be true, then this is absolutely devastating for not only them, for their lives, for the legacy of their families, and for the legacy of the MOVE organization at the same time. But, you know, it's important to tell these stories and to share what's happening in this particular moment in time, too. So, Appreciate
Well,
that.
and yeah, and I mean, when I think about the motivation for somebody to come forward, I mean, there's nothing to be gained, particularly by a young woman who has gone through this, to come forward with this kind of an allegation as a false allegation. I mean, it would just bring a lot of negative attention and a lot of recrimination from people in your community that you've grown up with. That seems very, I don't know. It seems like it would be very painful and difficult. But again, my sense is that this podcast exploration of the murder of John Gilbride, which again happened in 2002 and was never solved, created an opening for some people to decide that they wanted to tell their truth and tell their stories. And you know, I just hope that those who have come forward feel the sense of liberation and are protected enough where they can go out and chart a new path forward for this next part of their lives. Because by speaking out, they're effectively leaving the organization. And when you grow up in a community like that, and that's all you've ever known, it's I can imagine it's very scary to be stepping out into the unknown.
I think, this is actually, it's interesting. So, I mean, certainly we have some folk that are on social media kind of asking some questions about this. Joanne Kemp said, I listened to a little Pixie Africa. She goes by another name. I'm wondering why she seems to have a GoFundMe. I think other folk are asking some of these questions as well. Certainly there's a question about why they haven't, just used mainstream media as a vehicle to be able to tell these stories. I think that those are all valid questions that have to be asked and addressed. I mean, it could be that folk tried to and people just didn't want to pick up the story for whatever reason. But there should be some question about, why that is. Why mainstream media has not picked this up as well. I mean, I guess we are mainstream media. We're picking it up. But, certainly there are other vehicles that have not covered this story yet, and we need to be able to figure that out.
I expect that there will be stories coming forth because I think as the podcast continues, more will be revealed. But I will also say that I could imagine that Philadelphia and Philadelphia journalism probably has a very skittish relationship with MOVE because so much wrong was done to MOVE in terms of the bombing at Osage, in terms of the imprisonment, I would say unjust imprisonment of the MOVE 9 and others for overly long sentences.
Yes, absolutely.
People in the movement would consider them to have been political prisoners. And despite, some of the people who have lived near MOVE, particularly the Osage House, finding them to be very, very difficult, to put it mildly, neighbors, that all of the harm that was done to those associated with MOVE, I think it makes the city skittish, particularly the latest revelations about the keeping of the remains of the children from the fire. And I would imagine that Philadelphians are afraid to really confront MOVE about anything or critique the organization about anything because of so much wrong that has been done to it. So I think that there is a relationship between, I think there's a skittishness when it comes to calling MOVE to the carpet on anything because of the way that they've been treated. And, it's again, we have to be able to chew gum and walk at the same time, or hold two truths at the same time, that grievous harm was done to MOVE, and potentially the grievous harm has been done to members of MOVE by MOVE as well. I think we can we have to learn to hold those two truths at the same time.
Gotcha.
Look, we see you, Eric, from West. On the other side of this break, we'll take your call and get your take on the latest revelations about MOVE and the experience of growing up in MOVE that has been shared by some of the young folk that have had that experience. You're listening to Solutions, and we'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good afternoon. Watch for some heavy traffic on 95. It's all because of an earlier accident between the Betsy Ross Bridge and Bridge Street. So the crash is gone, but we've got delays still with us going back to the Vine Expressway. Elsewhere, 95 southbound backs up in Delco, Ridley Park to the Commodore Barry Bridge. Schuylkill Expressway slowing down eastbound Boulevard to the Vine Expressway. Westbound, we back up University Avenue to the Vine. Also City Avenue to Belmont Avenue. PA Turnpike eastbound, that's slowing down now. Norristown to Mid-County. We have delays on the Vine Expressway eastbound 76 to 95. And the Boulevard is backing up on the northbound side between the Schuylkill Expressway and Broad Street. Report brought to you by ExpressPros.com. Looking for a job? Contact Express Employment Professionals and be part of their national hiring event. With one application, Express connects you with multiple employers and never charges a fee. Go to ExpressPros.com, find your nearest office, and call Express today. And for more traffic information, log on to SigAlert.com. I'm Jason Lee with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Between family dinners, bedtime stories, and study sessions, Pico knows that life never stops moving. So if you need help paying your energy bills, there are financial programs available, like the Customer Assistance Program, or CAP, that offers a monthly credit that can lower your gas and electricity payments. Learn how Pico can help keep your life moving with CAP. See if you qualify at pico.com/CAP.
Do you have what it tastes to solve Her's Flavor Mix Mystery? One chip, 3 classic Her's flavors, thousands of possible combinations. Pick up a bag of Her's Flavor Mix Mystery and make your guess online today. Your guess could win you $10,000 and a year's supply of Her's. Visit Her's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more info on how to enter. Solve the mystery. Break out the Her's. No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 United States, D.C., 18 years of age and older. Ends 8/31/21. To enter and for official rules, including odds and prize descriptions, visit campaign.rtm.com/Her's Flavor Mix Mystery / void where prohibited.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you complete a job, you feel so much better. You'll sleep better, you'll feel satisfied, you may even cook a fancy meal and share it with a neighbor. When you complete a job, you will rest better and breathe. Breathe, everybody. Let me hear you breathe. Whew, breathe again, breathe again. It's very important to breathe. Say, you have completed a job. Well, after the job is completed, it's time to dance. It's time to tap your feet. And you're going to listen to something called Shake, Rattle, and Roll by Joe Turner. Here it comes.
Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Well, you won't do right. Save your doggone soul.
Tune in this Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. for the Islam Today show with a perspective on moral guidance and Islamic principles and values.
You're listening to Solutions exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Welcome back to Solutions. We have been talking about new revelations coming from former supporters and members of MOVE, members who grew up in the MOVE organization. And we have Eric from West Philly on the line. We'd love to hear your take.
Yes, how y'all doing today?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing better. This story cuts deep because I witnessed this in my own family a long time ago. And right now, my people's going through it, but the people that was involved is in denial. I just told my mother today about this, and I never saw her act this way before. I literally had to put my hand up to God and say, may God strike me down right now if I'm lying. And my mother said nothing because she saw the truth in me. So I commend them people for coming forward. It hurts because I have friends that out here suffering right now because they're not dealing with their trauma. And they self-medicate, and it hurts so bad. I just can't get past it, you know. It's not sitting right with my spirit. and it's hard to deal with. So I just want to thank y'all for bringing this information. And just hope these people can heal, man. Y'all have a good.
Eric, real quick before you go,
Yeah, before you go, Eric.
Yeah, where your folk were a part of the MOVE organization?
No.
Just
had
okay.
Nothing to do with that. This was just
gotcha.
what happened in my family. I witnessed my brother with one of my sisters. And then I found out that it also started in foster care, and there's like all these secrets. It's like there's so much denial, and people, they stop lying and keep the past in the past, and it hurts, man. 'Cause it's just like they would rather keep this secret and suffer in silence instead of let these people heal. My sisters are going through it. You talking about just stay away from them. Stop the excuses. Just, you know what I mean? Just say, look, I was helpless. I couldn't do nothing. Let these people get some healing. That's all I want. And it's hard to watch it.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's painful.
Eric, thank you so much for sharing your own personal experience and the experience of those in your family related to this kind of abuse. I think it is much more prevalent than we think. I know I have members of my family who have experienced things like this. It's deeply damaging and painful, particularly if it's perpetrated by people within your own family network. And I do believe you're right that the path to healing from this kind of trauma is to talk about it, not keep it inside. Because if you keep it inside yourself, it can fester like a disease. So thank you so much for your courage in calling, Eric, and we appreciate you, and we send you the best to you and your loved ones to get on a healing path.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Eric. All right, we have Clyde from South Philly. Clyde, welcome to Solutions on WURD.
Thank you for taking my call, and thank you to your producer. One thing, a couple of things I wanted to say. I could never, speak on what had occurred. I actually witnessed, the bombing and everything. But as far as the internal stuff, I can't speak on it. One thing, I have a saying: there's four sides to every story. Your side, my side, the truth, and what God is going to reveal. And a lot of things is being revealed right now. I don't know the latest story that came out, but it's ironic that from the bones, from the University of Penn, Princeton University, Dr. Alan Mann, and all these things, it's just really coming out. During that bombing, I don't even know if anybody even got any kind of help as far as the community that got burnt down to the ground. I don't know if they got any kind of trauma help or anything like that there, and which should have been afforded to everybody in that 2-3 block area, because that was something devastating to see on all parts. I stood there and looked at it and couldn't believe it, that it would actually happen. The other thing, and I'm not discounting the claim that is made, but since all these revelations have been coming out the last several months, is money a factor? I don't know. It's just questions. I mean, one thing is you answer every question and question every answer. So I mean, the timing is impeccable. We talking what, 35, 36 years? And you got to question that. You really got to question that. The whole thing has just totally been mishandled. From I believe the officer's name was Powell that actually dropped the bomb. So we don't even know what the FBI had to do with this, or even the state police. Because, we be looking at the surface stuff within the city. So now you have to go, how do you get authorization for a state police helicopter. How do you get authorization for a component that's like C4, that's almost like a bomb, which was a bomb? How do you get all these okays from certain people? You know, I mean, they come in at good, the whole administration. But how did Rendell play into this too? So it's a lot. It's a lot of unanswered questions about that entire episode.
Clyde, can I ask you something?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So did you lived in the area at the time?
No, I actually was living in Southwest Philly. I actually got on my bike and rode out to the scene.
Because you saw the smoke and you were watching what was happening on TV.
I seen at the time I was living around 46 and Willing. I heard about it. I got on my bike. I rode to the scene. I just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. And we talking over 10,000 rounds or 100,000 rounds. I mean, just unheard of. And 35 years for an apology. I mean, there's so many components to this entire thing. So many components. Did these people get any kind of treatment? I mean, we talking about MOVE. We talking about the community.
Yeah.
We even talking about city officials. They even watch that. So I mean, complex and this convoluted the whole thing is right now. And the more that things go on, like I said in my first statement, there's four sides to every story. Your side, my side, the truth, and what God is revealing, and He's starting to reveal everything bit by bit right now. And the major thing is the University of Penn and Princeton. How can you hold on to people's body parts? How do you do that? And how do you display that? Like, what's wrong with you? You got to have something mentally wrong with you to even hold them up in a slide presentation for the entire world to see, and walk away with it like nothing happened. And then the lie that was told was like, we don't know where the body parts are. Then it's like the professor got them. He don't know where they at. Then you come out again and say, oh, we're going to return them. Like, how many lies are y'all going to tell? It's lie after lie after lie. I'm talking about the body part. And that is just sad.
Well, it shows a deep disregard for the humanity of those people. The people who were murdered. And yeah, I mean, it's white supremacy at its core.
But
to
then
view
again,
certain people as inhuman and other people as worthy of human dignity and respect.
But then again, when you ultimately think about it, given our history, in this country, we talking about Tulsa. You still haven't found those people. We talking about Bethel Hill playground down there at 4th and Catherine, where our people still under there, and it's like this. You just won't change, and it's like we looking at this stuff, and we saying it's unbelievable, but you got a history of doing this. You have a vast history of doing this. I mean, since it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I just feel, really sorry and a lot of compassion for all the people that was involved. And including the other thing is this here, the two police officers that actually saved Ramona. They went through complete hell. We want to read some stuff. Read what they went through just to save those two people that day. They went through complete hell. So I appreciate you taking my call. I just wanted to add a little bit to it.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, Clyde. That's actually there's one thing you really focused on that I think we have to really have a deeper conversation about, and maybe that's on the other side of the break here, but I'll just bring it up now. Is this notion of communal trauma, and then what are we doing to create communal healing? Honestly, it wasn't just the folk in Osage Avenue. It wasn't just the folk immediately in West Philadelphia. The whole city was watching what happened that day. And, Philadelphia is deeply interconnected, right? So folk in North Philly and West Philly and South Philly, they're all connected to each other. And watching what's happening, those blocks that burn down, to watch the city move, there's a collective deep sigh of trauma that comes along with that, and you even have to ask yourself, like, to what way has that trauma manifested itself in the way that we are here in the city of Philadelphia, and how do we find ways to heal, to reconcile? Certainly there's a special trauma for those that were members of the MOVE community in that house, those that were particularly in that whole area, but there's some real sad ways that has impacted all of us throughout these years. And I think that's a piece that really has to be addressed, even as we think about addressing the trauma that will come from COVID-19. Like, what's the way that it's not just individual, it's communal, and then how do we figure out ways to support and help to heal each other in that process as well? So, okay, well, we are up on our next break, and we will be back. You are listening to Solutions on WURD with Amadi Braxton and Dwayne Royster. We'll be right back.
What's up, Philly? It's Sincerely Sarita. With so much uncertainty surrounding the upcoming school year, now is the time to take charge of your child's education and give them the tools to make learning fun and safe. Check out Commonwealth Charter Academy, which can make a difference in your child's life. Commonwealth Charter Academy, or CCA, is a K-12 public cyber charter school with nearly 20 years of experience providing a flexible, stable, online education in the comfort of your home. Enroll today at ccaeducate.me. Your child will receive 1. A world-class accredited education streamed directly into your home at no cost to you. 2. A laptop, headphones, assistance with accessing the internet and learning materials, all provided at no cost to you. 3. A safe learning environment with no bullying or security concerns. Join the nearly 2,500 students from Philly who already attend CCA. The school year begins September 8th. Enroll now at ccaeducate.me.
Star Fusion Express is Philly's first choice when cravings for big, juicy burgers, crispy chicken sandwiches, delicious wings, crisp salads, creamy mac and cheese, innovative spring rolls, and delectable fresh seafood kicks in. Did you hear that? Star Fusion Express at 5178 Parkside Avenue in West Philly is your go-to for fresh, flavorful, homemade deliciousness 7 days a week. Learn more and check out the menu at starfusionrestaurant.com. That's starfusionrestaurant.com for the best burgers, chicken sandwiches, wings, salads, spring rolls, and fresh seafood creations in Philly's Parkside neighborhood. Holla!
You know that feeling? Like every door is closing and you just can't see a way out? Being unemployed, underemployed, or just out of school can feel like that. But when you find the right tools, suddenly everything just clicks. FindSomethingNew.org offers resources that help develop new skills. Skills that can position you for careers in today's growing industries, from healthcare and manufacturing to cybersecurity and alternative energy. Find your path to a new career at FindSomethingNew.org. A message from the Ad Council.
Stand with WURD Radio, the only black-owned talk radio station in Pennsylvania. Did you know you can join the 4WURD movement and amplify voices of the black community as a digital member for as low as $5 per month? Visit membership at wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875. We need you. Show your support. Start or renew your 4WURD membership today. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Solutions exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Welcome back to Solutions on WURD with Amadi Braxton and Bishop Dwayne Royster.
Hello.
Just want to send appreciation out to, again, all of the folks joining us on Facebook Live, posting your comments and questions, and also to our callers tonight who have shared their own experiences in deeply personal ways, and we really appreciate it. We really appreciate you sharing your own reflection and your own emotional reaction to what we've been talking about with regards to the new revelations about MOVE, but also with regards to the history of MOVE's relationship with the city and all that has taken place in terms of how the city has reacted to MOVE and the bombing and all of the latest stuff that we've been dealing with this year related to the remains from the bombing and everything. I think what again, I'll just say this again, it challenges us to really think about what are the impacts of trauma, like the caller, I believe it was Eric, was talking about. How does trauma permeate and kind of reverberate outside of an individual's body, outside of a community, or an individual house, to the larger community, to the collective consciousness of Black people, to the collective consciousness of larger communities. That's a personal interest of mine to explore that further. But the young man who, I don't know how young he is, but the person who called in to talk about riding his bike over, Clyde, riding his bike over to the scene, how that impacted him. And he talked about the ways that it not only impacted the members of the MOVE organization in that house and the family in that house, but the trauma they experienced, the trauma of how the neighbors were impacted, and even the trauma of the police officers who went inside the burning building to try to save people. How have they been all collectively impacted by trauma? And how do you heal from trauma? And I think that is the question of our time now, because more and more people are acknowledging trauma as a real factor in people's lives, and something that can put you on a difficult path in your life. And I'm always curious about how do we get on the healing path?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's part of the solution, right, is to create the healing path. I mean, one is exposing it, certainly the other two, piece is speaking the truth into that situation. And then it's also making a commitment to never let that happen again. There has to be accountability and responsibility taken for what happened to make sure that that does not happen again. And I just, I mean, there's ways that we could kind of go off into multiple different streams about how the reaction of the police last summer during the uprising, brings back triggering moments. They'll do everything they can to protect Center City, but they didn't want to protect the communities. They were, shooting tear gas and so forth in communities, not just on I-676, but they were actually doing it right on 52nd Street, right, in neighborhoods. And they were, causing tension and creating more trauma, right? There's one incident where folk were actually, they were holding a child's birthday party on the front porch of the house, and the police are busy tear gassing the neighborhood. I mean, no announcement about it, just started tear gassing. And the folk that they were tear gassing at the other end of the block, which weren't even near where the police were just clergy and community members who actually lived in those houses, who were just out trying to figure out what was going on. So, this is all, it's all a trigger, right? It reminds people about what happened and takes us back and like, oh, is this going to happen to us again? Are they going to bomb our neighborhood again? Is this the possibility of what happened? Which is why we shouldn't be using tear gas in Philadelphia. We shouldn't be using, any form of militarized weaponry in Philadelphia, because we have this legacy, and it's a trigger for people. And it's a very painful trigger.
Well, and it makes me think about the guest we had on last week talking about restorative justice or transformative justice, and the new program that is being launched called Healing Futures, which is partnering with the DA's office to have the DA refer cases of juveniles for assault, robbery, other things, to actually have a restorative healing process where they can sit down with the person they've harmed, the victim of their crime. They can talk about, they can hear from the victim first, the impact on their lives, their business, or whatever the circumstances of surrounding the incident were, but talk about the impact on them, that the young person who perpetrated that crime can hear that, take that in, and that community members are present representing both sides of the conflict, to offer their take. Because again, often the the legal system looks at crime as an injustice, quote unquote, as between these different victims, but there's an impact on the larger community. So, but I just feel like, when you said, how do these things get healed, or how do we make sure this never happens again? Part of it is the accountability that can come through an actual restorative process. And so I think we have to be moving in a direction in our society right now where we are shifting toward caring and accountability. And people have heard me use that phrase before, but caring and accountability for one another. Because that is the only way that we're not going to repeat. I think if we allow trauma to just fester and not be dealt with, it will come out in some other form. The pain that the earlier caller talked about in his own family, that not being spoken of out loud or not being dealt with.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to leak out in other areas of people's lives and communities. So that is that kind of acknowledgement and choices made about how do you heal that? How do you, what does the perpetrator owe the victim in terms of recompense or reparation? Mm-hmm. That is really the only way to prevent things from happening again or repeating.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I see Rick in Germany who's been on the line. Rick?
Good day, good folks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say over the last almost 28 years, I have aired dirty laundry in my family over the air down in Washington, D.C. between WOL and WPFW. And I would advise against it to young people listening now. If you can't make peace with the person hurting you, then seek help elsewhere. Be careful airing your dirty laundry on the radio. Second, I would ask about the book Philadelphia Fire by John Edgar Wideman, I think. Mm-hmm. Was that a book on the MOVE organization or the fire on Osage Avenue?
I'm not familiar with the book.
I believe it was. I'll double check.
Okay. I thank you both for what you've done tonight. I've been a private supporter of MOVE for a long time, and I'm praying for the healing of the individual members involved and those watching. I think we as a community, as a black community in America, we're under stress just trying to survive. And if you're radical, it's even more stress. And you sometimes, I would say very often, you take that out on people close to you. That's all I have for you tonight.
Let me just say this to you, Mr. Rick, that book by John Edgar Wideman, Philadelphia Fire, is a novel inspired by the bombing of the MOVE home in 1985. So it is, I believe it is a fictionalized account, perhaps, that it was inspired by that incident.
Yeah, I just read that too. I was pulling that up. I was going to say that. So,
but
great.
I think interesting. I think Mr. Rick made an interesting point about being on the outside or being on the edge of society in terms of being a black radical, and the pressure that puts you under by having that orientation or that positioning, and the ways that people could take that out on those closest to them. Interesting point.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'm not sure. Yeah. So thank you for that, Rick. We appreciate your call. You call about every week, and we always appreciate your calls. Thank you for that. Let's switch gears here for a minute. It's okay to do that? Yeah. So I got a little announcement to make, just to let folk know that tonight will be my last night on Solutions. Some of you are aware that I've been doing an early morning show on WURD called the Power Hour, and we'll be focusing in on that over the next however long. So that show is 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Monday through Fridays, and so tonight is my last night here on Solutions with Amadi. Amadi will continue, and you might want to speak to more of that, but Amadi will continue doing the show. We've been doing this, I want to say, almost 4 years. It's
Has
been
it
a
been
while.
that long?
Maybe it was it 2017 or 2018 that we started doing this. So
I'm going to go back to my email where you asked me, do I want to do this? And I said, what?
So yeah, we've been doing this together for a while, and certainly we got other things that we do with on projects we work on outside of this together. But this will be our last night together on the show, and I'm just excited and thankful for the time that we've been able to spend together throughout these years, being able to work on the show. It has been one of the highlights of my week to be able to be on the show with you and wrestling on the various issues that we do, because we don't always agree on everything, even though we are wrestling and working towards solutions on the show. So just deeply appreciate you and all that you do. Originally, the show was called Urban Insights, and we did that as we took over from the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler. And then a couple of years ago, we became Solutions on WURD because we wanted to focus in on solutions towards some of the challenges that we're facing in our community. And so just deeply appreciate you, and thank you for this journey for both you and for Troy and Eric and the other engineers that have stood in when Troy was out. But I'll still be around. I'm not leaving the station. I'm just switching to concentrate on a different time frame.
You're just trying not to work a 12-hour day.
Yeah, these Fridays are rough. I gotta be honest, they're very rough. From doing a 6 a.m. show to doing a show from 5 to 7 p.m. It's a little rough sometimes. I'll be the first one to admit that. So, and I want to be able to bring my best to bring my best to the station each and every time that I'm on the air.
And to be awake and alert.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Jean. She said I'll be missed on Friday evenings, but you all are in great hands. Amadi is great at doing the show, and I always love her perspective on things and appreciate it. And just for Mimi G, who's asking, are the hosts from Philadelphia? The answer to that is yes. I was born and raised in Philadelphia. That's home. So yes, absolutely. And Amadi came here a little later, but she's been in Philadelphia since high school.
I was born in Philadelphia. And,
oh, you were born in Philly? Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay.
I was born at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
In 1971.
The hospital I was born in doesn't even exist anymore. It was JFK Hospital. That was over off of the Boulevard. So it was the hospital for city employees, and that was a long time ago. So.
Okay. Well, I was born in Philadelphia, and both sides of my family, both my parents were born and raised in Philadelphia. And I grew up coming here, even though I grew up in New York. I grew up coming here constantly because we had all of the extended families in Philly. So I very much identify as a Philadelphian. And of course, I've been living here for the past 25, 30 years since I came here to go to college in Philly. So, yes, from Philly.
Very long time.
Yes.
Yeah, I think my family's like 4 or 5 generations deep in Philadelphia. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they go back way back to the 1800s being in the Philadelphia area. So.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just say a few words about you as my co-host, my partner in crime here on this show. Number one, I appreciate the fact that you even had the inkling that I might be a good co-host, because when you first contacted me, I'm still looking for that email. Well, when you first contacted me about joining you as a co-host on this radio show, I was like, what are you talking about? Radio? What do you mean? Why would I do that? Because I had no relationship or no history or experience. But you saw that this might be a good combination, and you invited me into it with you. And so I just appreciate you having that insight because, of course, now I love doing this show. It's a lot of fun, and I get to engage on ideas and topics and stories that are of interest to me, and I think of our listeners. And it's fun. It's just fun. So thank you. And I'll just say that you are the hardest working man in Philly, maybe, if not nationally. Many, I was going to say hustles, but it's not really hustles. It's hustles for justice. It's hustles for the people. So your radio presence is just one of many, many, many things that you do each day, each week, week in, week out, to provide perspective and a service for liberation of the people. And you're very humble about that. But I know how tired you get, and I know all I probably don't even know all that you do, but I know a lot of what you do, and it is a lot. Just really have appreciated being on the show with you and you bringing me and introducing me to my radio life, which I never knew I would have.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting because, part of the reason when I originally, because when Reverend Tyler was leaving, he's like, hey, can you talk to Sarah? I think you should, do the show. And I was like, oh my God, it's a 2-hour show on Fridays. I don't know if if I'm up for this. And, one of the things that really got me, I remember from our work together that you were a documentarian. And I really thought that because of for documentaries, you have to ask hard questions and you have to ask very inquisitive questions. And I think that was a really important piece of all this. So, I was like, hey, Marty, what you doing? You interested in doing this? And I remember you said to me, you're like, well, try it for a month and see if this works. That was several years ago. So, I appreciate that.
I found the email. November 2017.
Okay.
Early November 2017. So yes, wow.
We've done a show almost 4 years together. Yeah. That's a long time.
That is a long time. That means I'm getting old.
And I'm also really appreciative of Troy because Troy was actually really helpful in teaching me a lot about both of you. Taught me a lot and in this time frame, and really appreciating Troy and also Reverend Tyler. I used to call him back and forth a lot and be like, hey, what do we do with this and do about that? And I just appreciate Sarah and Lomax Reese and all the team for really, taking a chance on us doing the show together. I just really appreciate it. It's been really, really good experience.
Yeah, and I just want to say to Troy, I was a radio baby, infant. I may just be like, a toddler now in radio years. But Mr. Troy has taken me by the hand and guided us through this process from the early days. And,
absolutely.
Told us, nope, don't touch the hot stove. Nope. Sit down and finish eating your cereal, whatever you tell babies to do. That's what he was telling us to do, and I really appreciate all of the guidance and support. So
I'm your huckleberry.
You need to cue up the goo goo gaga baby sound, because I think that is what's most appropriate. But yeah. Yes. That was me in November 2017. So look, we're up on our break. On the other side of the break, we're going to go to Woody in Winfield. Woody, hang on the line. We'll be right with you. You're listening to Solutions on WURD. We'll be right back.
Berger Montague is a Philadelphia-based plaintiffs' class action law firm committed to helping Philadelphia's black community. Berger Montague maintains a strong commitment to fostering diversity and equity throughout the legal community and in society in general. In 2020, Berger Montague filed a pro bono case against the IRS when they refused to send COVID-19 stimulus checks to federal benefits recipients with dependent children. Thanks to Berger Montague, people across the United States were able to obtain dependent benefit checks that they desperately needed. Berger Montague supports WURD Radio and Philadelphia's black community. For more information about Berger Montague Law Firm, please call 215-875-3033 or email at info@bm.net.
North Philly, Center City,
Norristown,
West Philly,
I ride SEPTA everywhere.
Every place.
every day. Into, out of, and all around the city.
SEPTA is the hometown way to go.
Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
Hey WURD family, did you hear? It's official. The Colorectal Cancer Alliance just announced the new age for colon cancer screenings has been officially lowered to age 45 for everyone. If you are 45 or older, it's time to get screened. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner to register for your free at-home screening test. Did you know colon cancer is largely preventable with on-time screening? And there's a 90% survival rate when caught early. African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. So for the next 3 months, you can go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. A screening navigator will contact you to ask a few questions and help you get screened. It's that simple. Again, just go to WURDradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and fill out the form to request your free at-home screening test. Go to Know today.
Hope Partnership Middle School offers a quality, subsidized independent school education to students and families in North Philadelphia. Located at 2601 North 11th Street, Hope offers small class sizes, personalized learning, a research-based curriculum, dedicated teachers, and a graduate support program, which supports students through high school graduation. They are currently accepting applications for 5th to 7th grade students for September. For more information, please contact them at info@hope-partnership.org.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter. You're listening to Solutions exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Stand with WURD, the only black-owned talk radio station in Pennsylvania. Did you know that you can join the WURD movement and amplify voices of the black community as a digital member for as low as $5 per month? Visit membership at WURDradio.com. That's membership at WURDradio.com. Or call 215-425-7875. 215-425-7875. We need you. Show your support. Join or renew your WURD membership today. It is definitely membership season at WURD right now, so please join. You are listening to Solutions. Bishop Royster's last show on Solutions, although I can't lie and say that I may not ask you to come back as a guest co-host or guest fill-in host or anything in the future.
Yeah,
Just saying.
All you got to do is just call. You know I am there for you, whatever you need. And if that's what you need from me, I will be glad to do that.
I appreciate it. Just, putting that out there in advance.
I got it. And just thank you to Lola Khan, who said, I'm going to be missed. She said my laugh is something else. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you, Lola. That's very kind.
All right. Well, let's go to Woody in Winfield.
Well, I've been through a lot of winter, spring, summers, and falls. But you've been able to hold this thing together, and both of you guys make a great team. I'm a little saddened that Bishop's leaving. Because you guys make a great team. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate you, and, whenever things change, I always like to at least be in the middle of it and say what I have to say, because I remember Troy in the beginning also. I remember Brother Cody Anderson telling me to go and sit in, and I'll never forget that. I said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, I've never done this before. Just like Bishop. Bishop knew that Miss Amani was ready. And that's what happens, I guess, with the people who are wise enough to see what we can't. So, Bishop, a tip of the hat. I think she's going to do a great job. And I just wanted to thank you for being able to see that before she actually did. And that's how things work. And I just want to salute my good buddy, without a doubt, Mr. Troy. He knows and respects the brother that started the station, which was Cody Anderson. And I always have to salute him no matter what through the years. As a matter of fact, if you get a chance, I just did a whole piece on him in Philadelphia Real Home magazine. I'm the only black writer in that magazine, but I try to bring the culture to all cultures around the city and hopefully the country, because we have to come together in the end of all of this to explain things if we're going to heal. All human beings have to at least see that one race called human with many cultures and ethnicities, and we're one color called human. One color called melanin with many shades. So as human beings, once you understand that, then you get through the sickness. The sickness is racism. See, when you believe that there's such a thing, you got segregation, bigotry, hatred, prejudice, all those things exist. But in reality, I just don't see racism as a real word, only because they created it. And by creating the word racism, the back of the line, where you all came from one seed, human being, all the way to the back of that line, and all the other shades came later. But out of that black female and that male came all the other human beings on the planet, and we're all one race, whether we like it or not. So salute to you, Bishop.
Thank you. And just to say again, I'm not leaving the station. I'm just on at 6 o'clock in the morning. Some of y'all might not be up that early, but I'll be on Monday through Fridays at 6 a.m. So, with the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler. So, but we'll still be around. Thank you though for that.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you. And Tania Stevens is saying, oh my God, Bishop, I'll miss you on Friday evenings. Bless you in your future endeavors. Thank you for your prayers and wisdom. Thank you for that, Tania. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, let's go to Lola in Jenkintown. Hi, Lola.
Hi, Amadi. Hi, Reverend. I just wanted to call in since this is your last show and say it's been a pleasure to listen to you. And, you kind of like, at first I was like, oh my God, he's too nice. He's too nice. But when you get riled up about your things, the things that you're passionate about, and we see the fire in you, especially with the organization that you work with. And I think everybody appreciates that about you, that you're very laid back, but then when there's something that you get really fired up about, you let the audience know. And I think that is a really great quality to have, that you're not always on 10, but you can get to 100 if you have to. And so we appreciate you. And in the morning time when I'm getting ready for work, getting on a train, I listen to you and Tyler. You two, you have a great dynamic with both Amadi and Reverend, is this his name, Kelly? Mark?
Yeah, Reverend Tyler. Yeah,
Reverend Tyler.
Reverend Tyler, yes. You have a great dynamic with both of them because you kind of ease him down too. And I listen to you guys when I'm like, you have to get up and get on the train. So I just wanted to say that, and appreciate you. And I know you're going to be still working with the organization. So kudos to you and what you've been doing and how you deliver the message to all of us, even some of us who don't believe, don't have the same faith, but you always include everybody into that conversation. So I just wanted to say that. So
can I say something, Lola? I want to just say something. I want to say that the thing that you talked about with Bishop and the way he can get that fire, that parallels the way you can get that fire.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you calling in and sharing your views. And anytime we see your name in the on the docket, getting ready to come on, I said, okay, Lola's going to start off slow and gentle, and then she's going to fire it up. So
I know, I just want to say right there, because I was getting ready to say my last thing before I had to hang up.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Because this is what I wanted to say about MOVE. I wanted to say that what the city did and what had happened to them, the trauma, I was a very young girl when that happened. But if you were born and raised in Philly, everybody knew about that, even as you came up. And what it did to me, even I'm not from West Philly, but I'm from Philadelphia, and that stays with us and people it will stay with me for the rest of my life. That they bombed a home and shot. And when you said you have sympathy for the police who went in there, Amadi, I just want to disagree with you on that. I don't disagree with you on a lot, but they kept them from coming out of that house. They shot them back in when they were trying to run out, the women and children. So I have very little sympathy for them. And I want to say this, that I don't know what that saying is. I can't think of it right now, what my grandmother used to say, but that could have been any one of us. It's a saying that they say, it could be for me, or, that could be me or something. Because they can go in a neighborhood and bomb out a black family like that and then take the whole neighborhood with them. You understand what I'm saying? And so that trauma is with all of us. And we live this trauma every day, not just because of MOVE, but just because of everything that happens. Being in, James Baldwin said, being black is being in a state of rage every day. And I just want to say to our people that one of the things that I do is I work out. People we got to take care of our bodies inside and out. Get in the gym, get in some boxing classes, because we have to get that anger out. Because yes, I can get very radical, and I get out here in these markets and I do that stuff, and I have a corporate job, but I have to contain that anger. And so what I do is I go in the gym, I work out, I box, and then I also sometimes maybe speak to someone who is a therapist. I'm gonna be honest, because it is very it's tough being a black. And I don't care where you're from. I don't care if you're poor, if you're middle class, if you're upper middle class. I grew up in Chestnut Hill, and then we moved to Jenkintown. And I just want to say this. I don't care what class you're in. I don't care if you're rich, you're poor. If you're black, you're black. And anything can happen to you at any time. And that's what I want to relate to people in this world who are black, that what happened to MOVE is don't think that that's just an isolated incident, because they stop us on the streets if you're driving a nice car. They stop everybody up here on 611. When I'm coming home, I see the people. I stop. I say, is this an appropriate stop? I want to know what's going on. Who's the sergeant? We need to get out here, because these people are black. They riding up here. Why are you stopping them? You see it all up on 611, on 63 East. I see it every day, and I'm vocal about it. And that's what we have to do. We have to stop standing alone and saying it's just about one person. It's about all of us, because it could happen to any one of us at any given time. So don't think because we live in these cushy lives and we might have it a little better than somebody else. No, we have to, when we see something, you have to say something. You have to do something. You have to be involved. And that's what I want to say. And Reverend, get some rest and take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Lola. Appreciate you. And you got fired up. You should be a preacher.
Thank you. Maybe that's my new co-host right there. Thank you, Lola, so much. We always appreciate you. I just want to say that what I was alluding to earlier about the police officers, I was alluding to a comment that a caller had made about the police officer, the two police officers who had gone in after the fire started, and the trauma that they may have experienced. I don't know about, I'm not defending the actions of the police in terms of bombing the house, shooting up the house, or anything like that. So I just wanted to say that. Let's go to Maurice in Southwest. Hello, Maurice.
Hello, my family. It's going to be less fun at the dinner table. I don't like that, but I'm going to have to deal with it. Listen, sometimes I come at you, Reverend, but guess what? That's because I respect you so much, because I know you're going to give me whatever I give you, you're going to give back to me, and I appreciate that. And I'm also going to miss you taking phone calls. You know what I'm talking about. and every time I think about the Pie Factory or the White House, you know what I'm talking about there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up there in Potsdam. So listen, let me tell you something. You two, I love your courage. I love your outspokenness. I turn the TV off when I listen to you on Friday nights, and that's rare for me, because nighttime's my television time. But anytime I turn the TV off, it's worth some good listening. And Reverend, if you could twist that guy's neck or his back in the morning and tell him at least take one phone call. It ain't got to be me, but take somebody one phone call a morning. It'd be worth it to make the show even better. And I love both of you. You keep writing, Amani, what you write, and don't let nobody slow you up. out and give your true opinion, which I love. And Reverend, you know, you do your thing, and I will be up in the morning like I am at night listening to you. And I just want to thank both of you. That's all I got.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Maurice. And Maurice, just for the record, I will always accept your calls on this show. Just so you know. I don't know what they do at 6 a.m., but 5 to 7 on Fridays, you are always welcome. If you can get through Troy. You are welcome. Okay, let's go to Charles in Germantown.
Yes, good evening to both of you.
Good evening.
And good evening. Reverend, I'm going to miss you a lot. I always am enlightened by what you have to say, but I will still try to somehow manage to wake up at 6 in the morning to tune into you there. I just want to say with regards to the move situation, I think that very often we as oppressed people find all different ways of trying to deal with that oppression and make some sense of it and do something we think is going to be a solution to it. And I think the move people were perhaps victims of some folks whose personalities were misogynist and controlling and all the rest. But for those who went into it, the adults at least, it met a need that they had. And I'm sure that we can look around the country and we can see a lot of other groups that are very similar. I still regret that what was done to them, what was done should never have been done to any human being anywhere on earth. Mm-hmm. But I do think we have to be careful with how we respond to the hurt that we have from the oppression that we're under, that we don't wind up doing things that make things worse for ourselves and for our families. That's about it that I have to say on that topic.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that comment.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I think sometimes we are destined to repeat the sins of our oppressors. And that's unfortunate. That's not just in this particular circumstance, but in multiple circumstances that we find ourselves in those places. And so I appreciate you sharing that, Charles. And that deeply resonates with me, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Deeply resonates. Just want to give a shout out real quick to Malcolm White. He said we've been missing this time slot, Dwayne, but I only get to hear you at 6 a.m. And absolutely, I will do that. And he also was saying that he is agreeing with Lola, who had posted online that she didn't have sympathy for the police because of the way that they had dealt with blocking the house up. So there's some folk that have some issue with the whole policing piece. I get that. Mm-hmm. I get those challenges.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
I think just in response to what Charles was saying about really insightful comments tonight from our listeners on this topic and the complexities of move and how you hold the multiple truths at the same time. But, this idea that, and I think Lola was alluding to this before as well, it's like, when people are under so much pressure from white supremacist system, and what do you do with that? How do you channel that? And how you can sometimes harm others if you yourself have been harmed,
right.
hurt people. But one of the things I was just looking during the break just about, and, I think in the future I would like to try to get somebody who's an expert on cults, but to talk more about this, but the reason why people join groups like a Move or like other groups like that, the top 3 reasons, according to this article I found, they want to better themselves, mm-hmm. either professionally or personally. They want a greater sense of community. They may feel isolated. They want connection and community. And the third main reason is that they are in some way in a state of extreme vulnerability. Mm-hmm. So there might be something going on in their life that makes them feel vulnerable, and they can, succumb to, or they are more suggestible, perhaps, in that state of vulnerability to participate in things that, if they were not in that vulnerable state, they would be less susceptible to. So that's just an interesting, the timing of when one is exposed to the possibility of joining a group like that, it has a lot to do with what their current state is, and like whether they're vulnerable to that or susceptible to being pulled into that. So
Absolutely.
Just an additional point there. All right, so we are up at our next break.
It's our final break for the night.
Our final break for the night. Okay, and do we have a special guest on the other side of this break?
Yes, he's going to be calling in just a few minutes. So yes,
okay.
We will have
a special secret guest.
Yes. So
whose name has already been dropped on this show tonight.
Yes,
okay.
We'll be calling in shortly.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
All right. Listening to Solutions. We'll be right back.
For the past 10 years, Comcast has been helping students get ready. We've connected 5 million students from low-income families to low-cost, high-speed internet. We're working with both nonprofit partners and city leaders to create over 1,000 Wi-Fi connected lift zones in community centers nationwide. And now we're committing $1 billion to reach 50 million people with the connectivity, skills, training, and the resources they need to succeed in a digital world. Learn more at comcast.com/education.
The holistic colonoscopy, no IV sedation. Your colonoscopy is due. You don't have someone to drive you home. You don't want to drink the prep. You don't want to be sedated with the Michael Jackson drug propofol. Does that sound like you? Call Blake Gastroenterology at 215-849-4902. Visit the website www.jsblake.com and make your appointment today. Drive yourself home after the holistic colonoscopy.
Between family dinners, bedtime stories, and study sessions, Pico knows that life never stops moving. So if your energy bills are adding up, Pico has programs available, like new payment options, flexible billing, and financial assistance to help you manage your bills and your budget for the essential energy you and your family need. Learn how Pico can help keep your life moving with payment arrangements. See if you qualify at pico.com/help.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to Solutions exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Welcome back to Solutions on WURD. This is Dwayne Royster along with Amadi Braxton. Just want to say thanks to folk that have really been posting some really wonderful things out here. Kasuha has said, appreciating me, but is really excited that you're here and that you're going to carry the show on and continue to do what we have to do. Sky Holbrook, thank you so much for what you're saying. And Linda Shields as well. We really appreciate each and every one of you for sharing those kind words and thoughts. Amadi's going to do a tremendous job. She's been doing a tremendous job for years, and so that legacy will continue on. So deeply appreciate that. All right, we actually have a special guest that called in, and just appreciating him taking a little bit of time out of his schedule because he was the one that got me started on this journey, asking me originally to be a guest fill-in host for Urban Insights, and want to welcome the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler to Solutions on WURD.
Hello, Radio Land.
Hello.
Well, Amadi, glad to talk to you. Bishop, glad to talk to you. Let me just say, that's the only thing Nick Talaferro, who I consider like my radio mentor, that was the only piece of advice he gave me, like literally. I said, so what should I do? He said, whatever you do, don't say, hello, Radio Land. I said, that's it? He said, yeah, the studio is yours. I'll see you tomorrow.
I wanted to get you on because ultimately you were the one that got me started in this, and then I brought Amani into it because you were hosting Urban Insights.
You're the one that started this whole mess.
Well, listen, so first of all, I'm just excited the fact that it's still, that it's still here, that it's still, that it evolved from Urban Insight to Solutions, and then Amadi, whatever it, becomes with you, just, watching the evolution of it and knowing that people on, Friday night have, meaningful, inspirational, funny, educational, radio to tune into from a Black perspective. And let me shout out, management and ownership. So it was Sarah Lomax Reese who, reached out after I'd been a guest, I think, and gave me the idea of a 1 hour show. I think it was a Monday night back then.
Monday nights, yeah.
And so they did a whole series of things they were doing. They did like 5 different 1 hour shows on Monday. And I said to her, like, what can I talk about for an hour on the radio? She said, you'll be fine. And that turned into 2 hours on Friday. So, again, I just really appreciate them seeing gifts in others that sometimes you don't see in yourself. And, you both have that. And so it's just exciting, watching what's happened. And thanks to you, Bishop, I get to get up at 4:30 every morning now to do the Power Hour. Because, I already get up that early on Saturday and Sunday, so why not Monday through Friday, too? So
Why are you blaming me? You got the same phone call I did about that show.
No, but somehow you were more involved in that than I was. So so one thing comes to another thing begins. So let me ask you this, the both of you. How are you all feeling about what you were able to contribute in Solutions? I think you did a great job. How do you all feel?
I thought Damati answered that question.
Well, I feel good about it. I feel, there's always so much more that we want to do. And so, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I have no point of reference except the other hosts on this show. And, I'm very self-critical. And so I'm always, questioning, wow, I could have done this differently or I could have done this better. But I think what I'm most proud of is just the guests that we've had on who are really the voices of those people on the ground who are doing important work that people need to know about, who are actually doing work to find solutions to the problems that people are facing, and being able to use this platform to highlight their voices, I think, is what I'm most proud of.
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, I'm going to quote Frances Upshaw, who's actually the board treasurer for Power, who often says to me, she's like, the first thing about being successful is just showing up. And so, each Friday we showed up and we brought, what we hope is our best to the table, to the listeners, to share insights, to share perspectives. Amadi has a whole set of relationships that I don't have, and brought a lot of folk to the conversation that I didn't think that, to be honest, I didn't think folk in the station would actually sometimes even be interested in, and actually became some of our most favorite interviews and guests, because it was providing a perspective that was definitively, very different. And I've always appreciated the differences between the two of us in terms of bringing that to the table and finding the ways that we were very synergistic, and then also the ways that we were very different in our approaches to things. One of the beautiful things for me is that I've learned so much from Amadi over these last almost 4 years, and actually had learned a lot from her prior to that. We actually had done work together prior to, which is how I knew to give her a call. And so I'm just deeply appreciative and very proud of the work that we did together. And, I don't think, our relationship does not end here. So just, folk need to know that this is, we're not on the radio together, but there's a lot of work that we're doing outside of here together that continues outside of this space. And I'm proud to be able to say she's my friend, a colleague, a sister in the battle for justice, and also a wise elder that I'm able to call on. And I'm not trying to refer to your age. I'm just talking about just you being a wise elder in the community writ large, and being able to glean from that as well. So I feel good about what we've been able to bring to the table. And I'm sure from time to time we'll reconnect and we'll do some things on the air together, and we'll be glad to do that. when time permits for us to do that. Maybe sometimes we can drag her at 6 o'clock in the morning to come join us on the Power Hour.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Oh yeah, I wish I was watching this on Facebook Live because I wanted to see her eyes roll at that moment. She said it. I was like, yeah, you all can have 6 a.m.
Yeah, that would take a double, triple alarm clock going off here in this household for me to be able to do that. But I'm down for whatever.
Actually, I have 4 alarms that go off so I can get up in the morning for that show.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted to just in terms of the elder comment, let me just go back to that for a second, Reverend Tyler. Thank you. I understand the reverence with which you were trying to, attribute to me, but you are older than me, just for the record.
I hear you. I respect that. That.
I just wanted people to be aware of that.
I mean,
well, you did kind of steer near the third rail there. I was like kind of, like I was glad I was like this far away from the two of you as you made that comment.
Well, Reverend Tyler, what was your last word that you wanted to say?
Well, listen. I'm just deeply appreciative to Black radio, Black Talk Radio, and and I'm thinking about Bishop, your point about the guest Amadi that you brought on and the different voices that people have had a chance to hear. The fact that we can go in onto it on a topic that maybe is a 5-second blurb on television news and maybe 300 words on in print, but that we could spend an hour and bring voices to the table that are important to our community and that would be heard nowhere else. I mean, it's such an important medium, and people may have thought maybe 7-8 years ago, well, what's the relevance? Like we talked about HBCUs, the same question, but post Ferguson, post Trayvon Martin, post Oscar Grant, and then everything that came with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and in between, I think we all know the answer to that now. And so, I mean, really, thank God for it. I just simply say to the listeners, keep supporting it, keep listening, keep sharing it on social media, keep sending your dollars in, because, if you think there's not much out there to begin with, imagine what happens if this voice goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you. Well, Doc, I know your schedule is kind of tight tonight, so we appreciate you calling in, checking in, and thank you for getting us started in this.
I just want to say, I still don't appreciate y'all taking off my opening song, Straighten It Out, because we're going to still straighten it out. But I love you both. All right. Peace.
Peace. Take care, brother.
Thank you. That was a good song. Straighten it out.
Yeah. That was the song. Yeah. Reverend Tyler is great for any songs that's from the 1970s. So that is his thing. Yes. Every song that came along that he wanted, it's always 1970s. Okay. It's like we're at the backyard barbecue and we are throwing down. So anyway, well, all right. Well, it's just about that time. Again, just deeply appreciate you. Thank you, Troy, for everything that has occurred for us over these last almost 4 years. And actually to Eric and to Eric Nixon, who fills in for Troy periodically, and some of the other engineers that have sat through the shows with us as well. And I do want to also give a shout out to Cody Anderson. Cody used to be in the studio when we got there. And Cody, in a very, it was actually very interesting. He was trying to teach us how to do our show better. All he did was ask good questions that would make us think. And so, really want to shout out to Cody, and thank you to Sarah for taking this chance on us doing the show together, and for all of your support for making that happen, and all the team at WURD Radio. Again, still around 6 a.m. Monday through Fridays on the Power Hour, and we'll be doing that. I will continue to listen on Fridays to Amadi, and just appreciate your leadership and everything you're doing, and blessings on you as you continue the show.
Thank you. It's been my utmost pleasure to be on this journey with you thus far. And you have now passed me the baton, so I am taking it and I'm running with it. So thank
Run
you.
with it. There it is. There it is.
Yes.
Do like Sha'Carri Richardson. Just don't get, caught with the weed. So, just take it and run with it. And
nobody will be testing my blood.
there you go. All right. Well, I guess I will do my final sign-off tonight.
Do your
Is that
final
all right?
sign-off. Go for it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to Solutions on Word. We deeply appreciate you. Thank you to everybody that's listened to us on the air, through the apps, through social media vehicles, people that even listen to us through Alexa. Hey, Alexa, turn on WURD Radio. We appreciate you. Thank you, Amadi, for everything that you do and what you have done for almost the last 4 years together that we've been on this show. Thank you, Troy, for everything you do and making sure that we're on the air, that our callers are there, that we've been on video and social media. When we started this show, there was no social media. It was just us on the air, and it has now become much more than what it was when we first began the program together. Again, thank you, Sarah Lomax Reese, and to everybody on the station for all that you did to help make this show become everything that it needs to be. Stay tuned now for the MB McKee Show. And family, do us a favor. Go out. Change the damn world. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.